Welcome, class. This is week 4 of Intermediate Algebra. This is Coach Nelson. Welcome, you too. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So, what we have here is a bell curve. And I gave you guys I already sent you everything you need to know in the workshop, in the email. So, we'll go ahead and send that in, follow along. So on your problems that you've already received, you should have something that looks like this, a bell curve. And for the sake of this, everything in the middle will be 34%. This one and this one. Okay. Everything in the second column next to the 34% will always be 13.5% on both of them. Again, you have this paper in front of you. So 2%, 2%, 0.5%. Alright. And so you have questions like, where would 68% be? And that would be in this column here and this column here. So we have underneath it, we have in the middle, we have the mean, which is represented by mu. We have 1 mu, 2 mu, 3 mu. And the same thing here, 1 mu, 2 mu, 3 mu. Again, crudely drawn, but you should have this on your paper as is. So, everything between the first mu's, 1 mu and 1 mu, would be 68%. Okay? So if I had questions stating what's from, and they give you some random numbers, and end up being from this mu behind, it'd be 50%. Again, added up the numbers, 34%, 13.5%, 2%, 0.5%, those all add up to 50. So, again, use a little sense that you guys have. So, anything from 3 mu to 3 mu, that's going to be 99%. Anything from 2 mu to 2 mu, it's going to be 95%. So if they had just random numbers here, let's say this was, 80, 70, 60, 50, 90, 100, 110. And it was just asking what's everything before 80, what percentage would that be? It'd be 50%. Alright. So go ahead and clear this out. Again, pretty simple stuff this week. We'll go from there. So when you're drawing these distribution curves, always label it 34%, 13%, 13.5%, so on and so forth. Always have those correctly labeled. Alright. Perfect. On to page 2. And these are called z-scores and how they're valued. So, z-score will always be represented to solve for z. So z equals x minus mu over, and this little thing is called sigma. It's a small lowercase sigma. And so x always represents the value. Mu always represents the mean. that's always the mean. And sigma is always represented by standard deviation. Alright. And so we have our first example. They give us a mean of 81 and standard deviation of 5, and they say solve these numbers. So if we had numbers, so problem A on the worksheet, our value is now 65, and so 65 will be the first x value minus mu, which is 81, all over our standard deviation, which is 5. So 65 minus 81, that would be 16, negative 16 over 5. And when we do that, we get, always round to the first decimal, but it should come out clean to negative 3.2. And so that would be our first answer. It would be negative 3.2. And you see how they did it for questions B and questions C as well. Same thing. They're going to be always the mu in this case, the mean or the mu will always be constant for that group, and the standard deviation and the sigma will always be constant for that example there. So let's see if we was going to do B. So we have z equals, in this case, is 83 minus 81 over 5. So you notice that this number and this number are the same, this number and this number are the same. So again, we just replace this. So that'll be 83 minus 81 is 2 over 5, which becomes 0.4. Alright. Example 2. Given the data below represents the height in inches of Greenwood basketball team. You have all those numbers. Again, go back in earlier lessons. I believe it was lesson 2, how we did this. So again, I won't do it here to save time. But so when you have example 2, you had, when we figured it out, the mu was ended up becoming 72, and the standard deviation, or the sigma, was 3. So again, you should get numbers close to that case all the time. They're going to be, standard deviation is always going to be about probably less than 10 most of the time. So, and unless we're doing with big numbers, which I don't have you doing, and then your mean is going to be your average. So we have A equals, so A, the number that the value they give us for A was 66. So we do 66 minus 72 all over 3. Again, these numbers are always going to be constant in this situation. So we have negative 6 divided by 3. So for A, our z-squared would be negative 2. Again, B and C, you see how they do. Alright. Again, same thing with 3. They give you these test scores and everything. You have to find the mean, you have to find the standard deviation. And so what they came up with was, after it was all said and done, the mu was 78 and sigma was 16. Again, I don't think I have a big number for your standard deviation when I have it. Have you guys fill it out, and I do not. So, you guys don't worry about it too much with the high numbers. And it's the same thing. Alright, example 4. The z-scores for 4 students on the algebra test are given to the left. And if the mean of the test was 85 and the standard deviation is 4, find each student's test grade. Alright, so this is where they give us the z-score. So let's look at Zach. He has negative 0.75. And so we're solving for x now, which is the value. X minus 85 all over 4. And so what we want to do, again, we'll multiply each side by 4. So that cancels. And that's going to cancel that one out. And so 4 times negative 0.75 equals equal to 3 equals x minus 85. Again, we want to solve for x. It should be negative plus 85. Negative 3 plus 85 equals 82 is equal to x. So our z-score for Zach would be 82. Let's do one more example. So for Taylor, she has a z-score of 3. Again, same equation on the right side. We're solving for these. 85, 4. We'll multiply everything by 4. Those cancel out. So we have 12 equals x minus 85. Add 85 to both sides. Score would be 97. And that's for Taylor. Alright. So looking at your page, again, we have those test scores there. Just tell me what the mean and the standard deviation is. This one will be over 10, but again, not that bad. And so when you get here to draw on your line, your bell curve, I want to draw it like this. And so put whatever your mean is right here, what the number is, okay? So when you find out the mean, you would do that. And then standard deviation. So it's going to be mean minus your standard deviation. So this number, let's just take for example, this number is 80. And we're subtracting our standard deviation, which is 5. Again, these aren't the right answers. But we're going to take 80 minus 5. That would be 75. This one would be 75 minus our standard deviation, which is 5. 70. 65. That would be 85. 90. 95. Alright. Again, these are not the right answers. Alright. So I'm just giving you a blank example. Alright. What you will need to fill out. So when you do get these numbers. I will give you the right answers here. Again, making sure we went over this correctly. This will always be 0.5%. This will always be 2%. This will always be 13.5%. This is always 34%. Same thing here, 34, 13.5, 2.5%. Okay. So those numbers will always stay the same for your case. And then just solve what the questions they're asking us. Alright, example 2, they give us the mean and standard deviation. Plug those numbers in, and you'll get your answer. So example 2 will be, or problem 2 will be like example 1 on page 2. Alright, pretty simple stuff. Example 3, or question 3, same thing. They give us a mean and standard deviation. Just plug in. You're trying to solve for z. All right. Example 4, they give you a list of numbers. You have to find the mean. You have to find the standard deviation. Then you have to solve for the values. So once you find your mean and your standard deviation, plug those numbers in, and then your x will be the numbers that are represented by A, B, and C. All right. Question 5, you're going to plug in every number. This might be a little bit confusing, so let's see if I can draw this box up. So I'm just going to do the first two. We have Jacob, Sophie, and these are the names. Right above this is the mean. This is the standard deviation. This is the z-score. Alright. And so when you get to here, the mean's always going to be represented by the mu. Standard deviation is going to be represented by sigma. The z-score is going to be represented by the z. So you are solving for x in all those problems. Again, make sure you pay attention. Those scores are going to fluctuate now because all those numbers are going to be rearranged. Again, plug and play, and then solve for x. You're solving for x on every one of them. 6 and 7 don't do. You guys are fine with that. You guys don't need to know that. All right. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of info on this. If you guys need any questions, don't feel free to go ahead. Feel free to ask. I am going to extend the deadline to Sunday at 11:59 a.m. or p.m. Excuse me. So I know that got this to you a little late. Again, fill out the problems. Again, you guys already know the practice because I gave you the answers with it in the previous email. So fill out the practice problems 1 through 5. Turn those in. Easy 10 points. All right. This is Coach Nelson signing off. Remember, you guys stay home, stay safe.